Autobiography. These then are the facts. When I was 10 years old, my father was declared a bankrupt and incarcerated in Marshalsea, the debtor's prison. His creditors determined that some member of the family should earn wages. So I was taken away and placed in a damp, lightless factory where they manufactured boot blacking. For 12 hours a day, I pasted labels on blacking jars. I was diligent at my work and tried not to notice the incessant scurry beneath the floorboards. Or I would close my eyes, pretend that it was rain on the window, and that I was safely home in bed. At times, the owner would place me in a large window so that the onlookers could watch the little man perform. This usually happened at midday when the streets were full. Later, the owner, a cousin of mine, would happily report that my performance was responsible for the immediate and large purchases of the lunch hour crowds. To a boy whose world was bound by sunlight and the lazy Balloon River, this descent into meanness and filth seemed like the end of my life. My companions were street urchins. They had little sympathy for a boy who knew how to read and liked to. I was totally friendless. I spoke to no one, except at night when I went to visit my father in his cell. I wanted him to know of the misery of my existence. You are a most disagreeable child.
Yes.
Listen, I wrote this morning. I am a grown man, or as grown a man as any writer comes to be. Yet at times I find I am compelled to follow the wishes of a little boy. Sometimes he comes to me during the day as I work. Listen, this is about you. Most of the time he comes to me in the evening, and though I am a man and he is just a boy, I am compelled by some strange power to follow him. He guides me down ill-lit, constricted streets until I can smell the river. I know where he is leading me, and I stop as a dark structure rears up out of the night. No, I say, I would follow you if I could, but I have not the power. I turn and flee up the twisted lanes away from the river. I push my way through noisy crowds. I see faces of friends and relations long dead. I cry out to them, but they have no consciousness of me. I'm carried along until I find myself in a mean little street in Camden Town slum. Before me is a tumble-down pawn shop. 3 grotesque creatures are bickering with the proprietor. I'm trying to reach an accommodation. Look, I found these last night, rummaging about. Don't you recognize them?
No.
They're toys, you old goat. For all his faults, John Dickens knew how to select a Christmas gift. Come see, they're yours too.
Despite our poverty, the spirit of Christmas filled our poor house like a living giant.
I can't seem to do anything that pleases you. Can't we be at peace? It doesn't become a man to war with children.
They're a trap.
What?
The toys.
No, they're not. Oh, yes, they are of sorts. I'm simply trying to make you a part of me again. Won't you come to me?
No.
What would you like me to do?
Stand on your head.
I will not stand on my head.
Sing a Christmas song then.
Oh, very well. Oh, come, all ye faithful, joyful and triumphant. This is ridiculous. It isn't enough that you haunt me. You simply must defy me as well. I know that I've not always used you well, that I've blamed you for faults that are my own. I've behaved bitterly towards you, I admit that too. But not any longer.
There's the man with the goose downstairs.
Yes, we're having a Christmas Eve party tonight.
He has another goose.
A sure sign that Mark Lemon will be here. And one more reason why I wish you'd be more attentive. The goose is not inexpensive, you know. Neither is clothing, nor coal, nor paper, nor quills. I can't seem to get anything done with you laying so unproductively on every thought.
Do you think he has to work tonight?
Who?
The goose man.
Well, probably.
Must have a nasty boss making him work on Christmas Eve.
Don't play with that. The fact that I've resorted to putting it all down on paper says something.
I wanted to take music lessons.
Yes, that would have been nice. Did you know the girl I was in love with when I was 18?
No.
She was very beautiful. Yes, she was. But of course, she was also very frivolous. And...
Who am I?
Oh, I don't know.
Guess.
The Queen's color guard.
No.
I give up.
The boy with the crutch.
Well, you're much too clever for me.
From the factory. The boy with the crutch.
What boy with a crutch? I don't remember anyone like that.
That's because there wasn't any.
Of course there wasn't. But what if there were? What if there were a boy with a crutch? Would he in fact be able to work? His family would have to be in a very bad situation to even consider it. And what of brothers and sisters? They would have to work long hours at some menial labor in order to bring home 5 and 6 weekly. And the father? Oh, a clerk or a menial laborer, with a pinch-fisted old employer opposed on principle to paying a living wage. What the devil? And what if this employer had a partner?
Merry Christmas indeed, Charles Dickens. If our Savior had have known we'd be celebrating his 1843rd birthday in such a fashion, he'd have returned and put an end to things long ago. So it was you who confounded my shins, was it?
Hi-ho, what purpose?
I've never seen any man run so.
Never seen so large a man run, so you mean? Well, off you go, about your work.
Work?
Uncle Bosco's turning the room like a tree. Do it proper, Cedric. I'll show you how.
He's gone mad.
He is excited.
You excited him, Mark Lemon.
Uncle Porpoise.
I only suggested he tell us a Christmas story. And as it is Christmas Eve, I think that's a thoroughly proper and reasonable request. Next thing I know, he's chasing me about with a broomstick, bellowing, "Up the stairs to the attic with you."
You cut quite a figure. And quite a path, too, I might add. You tumbled every vase in the vicinity.
The retreat you beat up those stairs was hilarious. As funny as anything I've read in your magazine for years. But I think you've inflicted grave injury upon that last flight of stairs. They were groaning in considerable agony when we came.
Christmas has driven him mad. The most famous writer in England. I think we're entitled to a story.
He absolutely refuses.
He is adamant.
He's got something up his sleeve, the old magician.
The old murderer, you mean? I nearly broke my legs over that trunk.
Oh, that's the theatrical trunk. For costumes and so on. You've never seen any of our theatricals, have you, Uncle Porpoise? Standing here paints the scenery, you know. And acts as well.
They're a smashing piece of fun. See, Dickens chooses the plays, rehearses us night and day for a month, and then we take them out for charity. We've all of us done them, even the children.
Sometimes they're the best of us all. It's their imaginations, I think.
No, it's not. It's our talent.
Ah, that modest estimation proves she's a Dickens. If only by merit. Forster doesn't too.
No, Forrester. I can't imagine a man with the social amenities of a porcupine painting his face and frisking across a stage. He kills daisies with a stare. It's his hobby, you know.
We've raised hundreds for the children's hospital.
That trunk very nearly landed me in a hospital.
You should see him work. His energy is extraordinary. Between driving us like slaves and taking the principal role himself, one would swear he's possessed by demons.
Ah, up with you.
Good God, he's driving the women up, too.
I don't know how we've done it, but we haven't spilled a drop.
He'd have our heads if we did. He insists we have the punch.
I think it's quite an accomplishment to be chased round a table, up 2 flights of stairs, carried a full bowl of punch and not spilling a drop. Oh, what could he be thinking?
Something outrageous, I'm quite confident.
My goodness, he takes the slave business seriously, doesn't he?
Yes, and I think it's just your size, too.
Fortunately, my dear Frederick, and as you would be the first to point out, these days I can find very little that is my size.
Well, if all this is any indication, I'm certain we're going to need to fortify ourselves for whatever it is he has in mind. Have some punch.
Look at this, my dear. A serenade.
Oh, Stanley, please, not a serenade.
And why not? I'm mighty handy with a fiddle and bow.
I know several cats who would disagree. Stanley once played the violin for a month beneath my window before I agreed to marry him, and only under the strictest condition that he give up his music and swear fidelity to his artist brush.
Nonsense. We agreed only that I not play beneath your window, and I haven't. And as for the alley cats, well, they obviously recognized in the strings of my instrument some long-lost cousin, and were understandably shaken. Ladies and gents, the Christmas child. Narrow-minded critic. I say, it's all gone dark. Muses protect me. Not all the martial forces in Christendom shall prevent me from being heard. Ladies and gents, the Christmas child.
Good heavens, what is that man up to?
There, Uncle Porpoise. Now does it look like Christmas?
It's superb, Charlie. All it lacks is a tree.
We drinking the body of tar, bearing gifts we traverse afar, field and fountain, moor and mountain, following yonder star. Child, which way to the east?
Good God.
What have you done to the tree, Charles?
It insisted I bring some of it upstairs. Take a bow, it said. I don't want to be left out. I've plenty more where that came from. You shan't miss it a minute. You'll have it back in me by Christmas morning and no one will know the difference.
What's all this?
I've seen a vision. A miser's bed,
I say.
a boy with a crutch,
He's busted the broomstick.
and a man wrapped in chains. Stunning, brilliant idea. The one who's missing will be here directly, and won't he be in a temper? The night is folding itself around us. Come, look. The moonlight fades as the fog rolls in. It's freezing, thawing, sniveling. The pavement's greasy with the damp. Nothing can stand in the streets, and nobody can quite fall.
A good night to be indoors. By a fire, in the parlor.
I'd forgotten. I apologize. By all means, fare the fire.
All right.
We can't very well have a Christmas story without a fire blazing, can we?
So it is a story. Charles, you needn't put us through all of this for the sake of a story. You could have told it just as easily in the parlor.
Nonsense. He wanted to tell it here, where he writes, so he can be inspired by the atmosphere.
Peace! Peace! It is Christmas Eve. It's my work telling story. Surely you don't expect a man to work on Christmas Eve? No, I have something else in mind. He's here, my man in chains. And I want you all to greet him with a Merry Christmas, John. But first, be prepared for a blow. Batten down the hatches. Fire! Submerge yourself, Uncle Porthos.
Hello, Dickens. Anybody here?
Merry Christmas, John.
Merry Christmas, John.
You lunatic! An explanation at once.
Gentle Forster, Beacon Miles. Merry Christmas.
I don't see any chains.
Chains? What's she talking about?
Ladies and gentlemen, my good, most understanding friend, Mr. John Forster. You know everyone, Forster? Oh, I don't believe you've met my niece. Tell us.
No. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, John.
No. Yes. Merry Christmas. Now, will you explain why we're celebrating this auspicious night in such an unorthodox, uncomfortable, and odious little room?
Well, it's very simple. Uncle Porpoise here asked Dickens to tell us a Christmas story. And instead of gathering us all around a fire, he's herded us all upstairs.
You asked Dickens to tell a story, and he refused? Don't stand there, man. Fetch a doctor. He's unmistakably ill.
Healthy is the good day itself, John, and I'd be as happy as you'd be for a Christmas story. But if there's one sin that's worse than working on Christmas Eve, it's one man doing all the work, while the rest sink back and savor his industry. Now, if we're to have a Christmas story, let us each take a part in the telling. Everything we need to bring forth a marvelous tale of Christmas is here in this room. The costumes and properties of Dickens' theatricals.
I say, this could be fun.
This will be glorious. Place yourselves in my hands and we'll bring forth the most marvelous of Christmas spirits. Now for the role.
Just a moment here, friend Dickens. We're going to tell a Christmas story.
We're going to perform a Christmas story. Yes, John.
And are there ghosts and such things in this story?
Most assuredly. What's a Christmas story without them?
And we, respectable adults, are going to glide about pretending to be these ghosts, which are strictly the products of over-fertile imaginations.
Yes, again, John.
Do I get to play them?
My entire plan rests on the assumption that you will play a number of ghosts.
Ah, good. Otherwise, I'd not participate. But as it stands, I'll do it. And I shall act the devil out of all of you.
Bravo! Now for the roll. To you, Johnny. All the very young gentlemen, beginning with the caroller. And Helen, the very young ladies, also beginning with the caroller. Now pick a carol you both know well. A good one, too. As for you, Stanley, all the hard-working young men, a role with which you're thoroughly acquainted, beginning with a clerk named Cratchit. And Frederick, to you, a mixture of the dandies and young men determined to get ahead and accomplish great things in this world, a role with which you're thoroughly unaccustomed. Your first assignment will be a nephew, named of all names, Fred. To you, my dear Catherine, all the matrons and the mothers, the latter position you fill so well and are acquainted with the experience. The former will demand some imagination on your part. And as for you, Mrs. Stanfield, all the young and available ladies. To Uncle Porthos, all those roles which we might consider the most well-rounded. And to you, Forster, all the rest, including a ghost or two. Now, within these bounds, feel free to play whomever or whatever you like. I shan't be in order to stretch or change assignments on occasion, so long as you act for the sake of the story. Make use of the items I've given you. Carry them with you through the entire tale, giving a unity to our work. Use whatever you like in this room. Use the costumes, use the furniture, use each other. Confer if you like, but bear in mind one thing and one thing only. Jacob Marley is dead. There can be no doubt whatever about that. It must be distinctly understood, and nothing wonderful will come of this tale we are about to create. Jacob Marley is dead as a doornail. Mind, I don't know of my own knowledge what is particularly dead about a doornail. I might have been inclined to think of a coffin nail as the deadest piece of ironmonger in the trade, but the wisdom of our ancestors is in the simile, and my unhallowed hand shall not disturb it. Let me therefore emphasize again, Jacob Marley is dead as a doornail. Now, Scrooge knew he was dead? Of course he did. How could it be otherwise? He and Marley had been partners for I don't know how many years. Scrooge was his sole executor, his sole administrator, his sole assign, his sole residuary legatee, his sole friend, and his sole mourner. Yet, Scrooge was not so terribly cut up by this event. Being a good man of business, on the very day of the funeral, he solemnized the occasion with an undoubted bargain. Scrooge never painted out old Marley's name. There it stood for years afterwards above the warehouse door. Scrooge and Marley's. Once upon a time, on all good days of the year, on Christmas Eve, old Scrooge sat busy in his counting house. It was cold, bleak, biting weather. The city clock had just struck 3, but it was quite dark out already. It had not been light all day. The fog came pouring in at every chink and keyhole. Oh, but he was a pinch-fisted old hand at the grindstone, Scrooge. squeezing, wrenching, scraping, grasping, clutching, covetous old sinner, hard and sharp as flint, from which no steel had ever struck out generous fire. The cold within him froze his old features, nipped his pointed nose, shriveled his cheek, and stiffened his gait, made his eyes red, his thin lips blue, and spoke out shrewdly in his grating voice. The frosty rime was on his head, his eyebrows, and his wiry chin. He carried his own low temperature about with him always. He iced the office in the dog days, and he didn't thaw it 1 degree at Christmas.
Ah, Merry Christmas, Uncle. God save you.
Humbug.
Christmas a humbug, Uncle? You don't mean that, I'm sure.
I do. Merry Christmas. What right have you to be merry? What reason have you? You're poor enough.
Come then, what reason have you to be so dismal? You're rich enough.
What's Christmas time to you but a time for paying bills without any money? A time for finding yourself a year older and not an hour richer. Time for balancing your accounts and having every one of them come out dead set against you. Bah! Humbug!
Don't be cross, Uncle.
What else can I be when I live in a world of fools such as this? Merry Christmas. Out upon Merry Christmas. If I could work my will, every idiot who walks about with Merry Christmas on his lips should be boiled in his own pudding and buried with a stake of holly through his heart. He should.
Uncle!
Nephew, you keep Christmas in your way, and I'll keep it in mine.
Keep it? But you don't keep it.
Let me leave it alone then. Much good has it done you. Much good may it ever do you.
There are many things from which I have derived good, by which I have not profited. I dare say Christmas among them. It's the only time of year I know of when men and women open up their shut-up hearts and think of less fortunate people as if they really were fellow passengers to the grave and not another race of creatures. Therefore, Uncle, though it has never put a scrap of gold or silver in my pocket, I believe it has done me good, and I say, God bless it.
One more sound from you and you'll keep Christmas by losing your situation. You're a very powerful speaker, sir. I wonder you don't enter into Parliament.
Oh, don't be angry, Uncle. Come, dine with us tomorrow.
I'll dine with the devil first.
But why, Uncle?
Why did you get married?
Because I fell in love.
Because I fell in love. Good afternoon.
You never came to see me before I was married. Why give it as a reason for not coming now?
Good afternoon.
I ask nothing from you. I want nothing of you. Why cannot we be friends?
Good afternoon.
I'm sorry with all my heart to find you so resolute. We have never had any quarrel to which I have been a party. But I have made my visit in homage to Christmas, and I shall keep my Christmas humor to last. So, a Merry Christmas, Uncle.
Good afternoon.
And a Happy New Year.
Good afternoon. And you're another fellow. My clerk on 15 shillings a week, a wife and family, talking about Merry Christmas. I'll retire to Bedlam. Yeah.
Scrooge and Marley's, I believe. Have I the pleasure of addressing Mr. Scrooge or Mr. Marley?
Mr. Marley has been dead these 7 years. He died 7 years ago this very night.
We have no doubt his liberality is well represented in his surviving partner.
At this festive time of the year, Mr. Scrooge, it is more than usually desirable that we make some slight provision for the poor and the destitute, who suffer greatly at the present time. Many thousands are in want of common necessities. Hundreds of thousands are in want of common comforts, sir.
Are there no prisons?
Plenty of prisons.
And the workhouses, are they not still in operation?
Well, they are. I wish I could say they were not.
Oh, from what you said at first, I thought something had occurred to stop them in their useful course. I'm glad to hear it.
Under the impression that they scarcely furnish cheer of mind or body, a few of us are endeavoring to raise a fund to provide the poor some meat and drink and means of warmth. We choose this time because it is a time of all others when want is keenly felt and abundance rejoices. What shall I put you down for?
Nothing.
You wish to be anonymous?
I wish to be left alone. You ask me what I wish, gentlemen, and that is my answer. I don't make myself merry at Christmas, and I can't afford to make idle people merry. I support those establishments I've mentioned. They cost enough. If people are badly off, they'd better go there.
Many can't go there, and many would rather die.
If they would rather die, then they had better do it and decrease the surplus population. Besides, I don't know that.
But you might know it.
It's not my business. It's enough for a man to know his own business and not interfere with other people's. Mine occupies me constantly.
But Mr. Scrooge...
Good afternoon.
I can only say, Mr. Scrooge, that I hope you will consider the spirit of the day and think again. Here is my card.
Humbug.
Christmas child, why do you cry, little Christmas child? Oh, many
Quiet! Beggars. Pests. I suppose you'll be wanting all day tomorrow too, as
If it's
usual.
convenient, sir.
It is not convenient and it is not fair. If I were to stop your wages half a crown, you'd think yourself ill-used, I'll be bound. Yet I'm not to be considered ill-used if I'm to pay a day's wages for no work.
It's only once a year, Mr.
A poor excuse for picking a man's pocket every 25th of December. But if you must have the whole day, I suppose you must be here all the earlier the next morning.
Yes, sir, Mr. Scrooge. And Merry Christmas, Mr. Scrooge.
Merry Christmas, Mr. Scrooge. Bah! Humbug. Scrooge took his usual melancholy meal in his usual melancholy tavern, and having read the evening papers, he beguiled the rest of his evening in his banker's book and went home to bed. Now, it is a fact that there was nothing at all particular about the knocker on his door except that it was very large. It is also a fact that Scrooge had seen it night and morning every day of his residence there, and that Scrooge had as little of what is known as fancy about him as any man in the city of London. Let it also be known that Scrooge had not had one thought of Marley since the last mention of his dead partner's name that afternoon. Let any man explain that, if he can, how it was that Scrooge, with his key in the lock, saw in the knocker, not a knocker, but Money's face! It's humbug still. I won't believe it. How now? What do you want with me?
Much.
Who are you?
Ask me who I was.
Who were you then?
In life, I was your partner, Jacob Marley.
Can you sit down?
I can.
Do it then.
You do not believe in me.
I don't.
What evidence would you have of my reality beyond that of your senses?
I don't know.
Why do you doubt your senses?
Because a little thing upsets them. Slight disorder of the stomach makes them cheat. You might be an undigested bit of beef, a blot of mustard or a crumb of cheese, an underdone bit of potato. There's more of gravy than there is of grave about you, who or whatever you are. Do you see this toothpick?
I do.
You're not looking at it.
I see it notwithstanding.
I have but to swallow this and be persecuted for the rest of my life by a legion of goblins all of my own making. It's humbug, I tell you, humbug. Mercy, dreadful apparition. Why do you trouble me?
Man of worldly mind, do you believe in me or not?
I do. I must. But why do you walk this earth? Why do you come to me?
It is required of every man that the spirit within him should walk abroad among his fellow men and travel far and wide. If that spirit goes forth not in life, it is condemned to do so after death. It is doomed to wander through the world and witness what it cannot share, but might have shared in life, and turn to happiness.
You are wrapped in chains. Tell me why.
I wear the chain I forged in life. I made it link by link and yard by yard. Girded it on of my own free will, and of my own free will I wore it. Is its pattern strange to you?
It is.
Or would you know the weight and length of the strong coil you bear yourself? Was full as long and as heavy as this 7 Christmas Eves ago. You have labored on it since. It is a ponderous chain.
Oh, Jacob Marley, tell me more. Speak comfort to me.
I have none to give. A very little more is all that is permitted me. I cannot rest. I cannot stay. I cannot linger anywhere. My spirit never walked beyond our counting house. In life, my spirit never roved beyond the narrow limits of our money-changing hole. Weary journeys lie before me.
You must have been awfully slow about it, Jacob.
Slow?
7 years dead and traveling all the time.
The whole time! On the wings of the wind! No rest! No peace! Incessant torture of remorse!
But you were always a good man of business, Jacob.
Business? Mankind was my business. The common welfare was my business. Charity, mercy, forbearance were all my business. The dealings of my trade were but a drop in the comprehensive ocean of my business.
Don't be hard on me, Jacob.
My time is nearly gone. How it is that I appear before you in a shape that you can see, I may not tell. I am here tonight to warn you that you have yet a chance of escaping my fate. A chance of my procuring Ebenezer.
You are always a good friend to me, Jacob. Thank you.
You will be haunted by 3 spirits.
Is that the chance you mentioned, Jacob?
It is.
No, I think I'd rather not.
Without their visits, you cannot hope to shun the path I tread. Look you, down upon the people of this planet, your fellow creatures, crawling, senses shut through life. Many of them are known to you. You see them on the streets, in the shops, on the exchanges. They go about their business, seldom lifting their eyes to the crying children, to the inhuman misery that surrounds them. What is this misery to what they will know when, gone from this life, they seek to interfere for good in human affairs and discover that they have lost the power forever? Oh, captive, bound, and double-ironed, not to know that any human spirit, working kindly in its own sphere, will find its mortal life too short for its usefulness to mankind, not to know that no amount of eternal regret can make amends for life's opportunities misused. Yet such are these. Expect the first spirit tomorrow when the bell tolls 1.
Couldn't I take them all at once, Jacob, and be done with it?
Expect the second spirit on the next night upon the same hour. The third on the next night when the last stroke of 12 has ceased to vibrate. Look to see me no more, and for your own sake, look that you remember what has passed between us.
Humbug. One. It was past 2 when I went to bed. An icicle must have gotten into the works. Are you the spirit, sir, whose coming was foretold me?
I am.
Who or what are you?
I am the ghost of Christmas past.
Long past?
No, your past.
What business brings you?
Your welfare.
I can't help thinking that a night of undisturbed sleep would be more conducive to that end.
Your reclamation, then.
What reclamation is there in the past? I don't want to see it.
Why not?
Because it is unpleasant to me. No good can come of it.
Take heed. Remember what you have seen already. Rise and walk with me.
I? But I am mortal and likely to fall.
Bear but a touch of my bow, and you will be upheld in more than this. Is this place familiar to you?
Good heavens. I was in school at this place. I was a boy here.
These are but shadows of the things that have been. They have no consciousness of us. The school is not yet deserted. A solitary child, neglected by his friends, remains there still.
Poor boy.
Ebenezer, dear brother, I've come to take you home.
Fan!
Home then? Yes, home for good and all. Father's so much kinder than he used to be. He spoke so gently to me one night that I wasn't afraid to ask him once more if you might come home. He said I should. He sent me in a coach to bring you.
This is a Merry Christmas, Ben.
We're to be together all Christmas and have the merriest time in the world. Let's get your trunk.
Always a delicate child, whom a breath might have withered.
But she had a large heart.
Indeed she had. She died a woman, I think, and had children.
One child.
Yes, your nephew, Fred.
I wish
Yes?
there were some children caroling at my door last night. Should have liked to give them something, that's all.
Do you know this place?
Know it? I was apprenticed here.
You hold there, Ebenezer! Dick!
Why, it's Fezziwig. Bless his heart, it's old Fezziwig alive again.
No more work tonight. Christmas Eve, Dick. Christmas, Ebenezer. Let's have the place cleared away before a man can say Jack Robinson.
Dick Wilkins, to be sure, bless me, yes, he was always very much attached to me, was Dick. Poor Dick. Dear, dear.
Hi-ho, clear away, my lads, and let's have lots of room here. Hi-ho, Dick. Cheer up, Ebenezer.
Remember Christ our Savior was born on Christmas Day to save us all from Satan's power when we were gone astray. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy.
My dears, it's Christmas Eve, a toast to that glorious occasion. May tomorrow and the whole of the new year find us merry, content, and above all, filled with the happy goodwill of the season towards all our fellows.
Bravo!
And, in honor of the great day, I have engaged the services of the most renowned musician in the city of London. His nimble tricks over and amongst the strings of that most splendid of instruments are too well known that I should relate them. You all know him. You're all no doubt acquainted with his miraculous capacity to raise the spirits of even the most mortuary of countenances. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the highly valuable...
My, I don't deserve it, really. Ladies and gents, the Christmas child.
My dears, the gifts!
A small thing to make these silly folk so full of gratitude.
Small.
Why, is it not? He has spent but a few pounds of your mortal money. 2 or 3, I think. Is that so much that he deserves your praise?
It's not that, Spirit. He had the power to make us happy or unhappy, to render our service light or burdensome. Why, the happiness he brought was as much as if he'd spent a fortune.
What's the matter?
Nothing.
Something, I think.
I should like to have a word with my clerk just now, that's all.
Oh, my dears, the hour grows late. Before we depart, however, Mrs. Fezziwig and I have an announcement. An announcement of a most auspicious nature.
Spirit, show me no more.
As you know, Mrs. Fezziwig and I have labored these many years to rear a very particular child. The fruits of our labor, I am happy to say, are most satisfactory. More than satisfactory. They are summed up in one beautiful word. Belle. Now, with the very dawn, the very ripeness of her youth and beauty, she has surrendered to the wiles of one of you in this very room, one to whom I have furnished shelter, food, and a warm bed.
Now a sore back and aching eyes too,
Yes, I'll not deny he's the hardest working apprentice ever to balance a book or close an account. Come spring, our lovely Belle shall wed that most industrious of young gentlemen, Mr. Ebenezer Scrooge.
Bravo! A dance from the couple.
Take me home.
It matters little to you, very little. Another idol has displaced me. If it can cheer and comfort you in times to come, as I would have tried to do, then I have no just cause to grieve.
What idol has displaced you?
A golden one.
This is the even dealing of the world. There is nothing on which it is so hard as poverty, and there is nothing on which it professes to condemn so severely as the pursuit of wealth.
You fear the world too much. All your hopes are merged into the one hope of being beyond the world's reproach. I have seen your nobler aspirations fall off one by one until one passion, gain, engrosses you. Have I not?
What then? Even if I have grown so much wiser, what then? I am not changed toward you, am I?
Our contract is an old one. It was made when we were both poor and content to be so, until in good time we could improve our fortunes. You are changed. When it was made, you were another man.
I was a boy.
Your own feeling tells you you are not what you were. I am. How often I have thought of this does not matter. It is enough that I have thought of it and can release you.
Have I ever sought release?
In words, no, never.
In what then?
In a changed nature, an altered spirit. In everything I've ever done to make my love of worth or value in your sight. If we had never had our past, would you still seek me out and try and win me now?
You think not?
I would think otherwise if I could. But if you were free today, could I believe that you would choose a girl with so small a dowry? You who now weigh everything by gain? And if you should choose her, do I not know that your regret would surely follow? I do. And I release you. With a full heart, with the love of him you once were, may you be happy in the life you have chosen.
Go to her, you fool! You fool! Spirit, show me no more. Why do you delight to torture me?
I have told you that these are shadows of the things that have been. That they are what they are. Do not blame me.
Leave me. Take me back. Haunt me no longer.
As you wish.
Belle. Belle.